Alright, y'all. We are now going to do problem 2. 1 divided by x is greater than or equal to 4x over 1. I started by finding my excluded values, which are what make the denominator 0. You can't divide by 0. It makes all kinds of crazy bad things happen mathematically. Numbers lose their uniqueness if you divide by 0. So the only thing that would make the denominator here 0 is 0, and nothing here because there's no variable. So then I put brackets around the whole thing and make it an equal, and I find the least common denominator. The least common denominator of x and 1 is x. In other words, it's what do x and 1 both go into. 1 goes into anything and x goes into x. So I'm going to distribute this through. That x and that x are going to cancel, leaving me with 1. That x will not cancel because there's only a 1 down here, so there's 4x times x, which is 4x squared. That is a quadratic equation because it's x squared. To solve quadratic equations, you got to get them equal to 0. So I'm going to move the 1 to the other side, and that gives me 0 equals 4x squared minus 1. Now I've got to factor that. Some of you might be saying, well, I don't know how to factor that. Analyze it. 2 pieces, so it's not a trinomial, so it's not a general trinomial, which we call gentry, or a trix, a trinomial that starts with x squared. It's not a perfect square trinomial. It's not a GCF. They don't have anything together in common, but that's a square, that's a square, and that's a square. There's a minus in the middle. This is DOPS, difference of perfect squares. So 2 parentheses. 4x squared is 2x times 2x. 1 is 1 times 1. 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1. Now I have 2 baby equations. So I solve those baby equations by moving 1 to the other side of the equal, and that becomes negative, and dividing by 2. Moving 1 to the other side of the equal, it becomes positive, dividing by 2. So now I have those 2. I put my excluded value, which I scrolled off the paper here, excluded value and my 2 answers all on a number line. And there they are. And this is where I got when the telephone rang. Okay. I decide whether they're open or closed. My answers are closed because of that line. So a closed dot at -1/2, a closed dot at +1/2. My excluded value is always an open circle, so there's my 0. Now I have to test. Down here below -1/2, I'm going to test -1. Here I'm going to test -1/4, +1/4, +1. Alright, and I'm testing them in my head because this is easy. And guys, you need to get used to doing some mental math. It just keeps your brain sharp. So testing -1. 1 divided by -1 is -1. 4 times -1 is -4. -1 is greater than -4 is true. So I marked it true. And that's where I got when the phone rang. A minute ago, Gracie telling me she was at Greensboro. Alright, testing -1/4. 1 divided by -1/4. When you same change flip that, becomes -4. 1 divided by 1/4 is 4, and 1 divided by -1/4 is -4. 4 times 1/4 is 1, and it's -1 because that's a -1/4. So this is -1, this is -4. -4 is greater than -1. Well, last time I checked, -4 is not greater than -1. So that would be a false. Okay. Testing +1/4. 1 divided by a quarter is 4. 4 times 1/4 is 1. 4 is greater than 1 is true. Testing +2. 1, excuse me, I don't know why I said positive. Testing 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 is greater than 4. That is false. Okay. Now I shade where it's true. This is really out of my element doing math in pen and doing math to an empty room, so I can't look at it, y'all, and see the expressions on your faces. You're probably rolling your eyes. Of course, you can't see the expression on my face either because all you can see is my hand. Okay, so I shade the true bits, and now I'm going to write the answer with symbols and the answer in set notation. So starting with symbols, and I apologize I don't have a whole lot of room here. I'm going to write it right in here. This part is x is less than negative 1/2. Oh, excuse me, less than or equal to, because it's a closed dot. This part is a sandwich. 0 is less than, open, x is less than or equal to 1/2. So there is the answer written in, I don't know really what they call that, inequality notation maybe. Now we're going to write it in set notation. We read from left to right, negative infinity to negative 1/2, bracket, because negative 1/2 is closed, unioned with 0, which is a parenthesis, to 1/2, and 1/2 is bracketed because it actually includes 1/2. And so my answer to problem 2 is that one of those three. If you missed it, correct it on your homework because you're going to upload it to me. And that is problem 2, and I will record one more video for problem 3.